So, I asked over 100 different Celeste speedrunners of various skill levels what they think has an advantage when speedrunning this game, controller or keyboard. I revealed the results live on my Twitch channel, and now you will also see a cut-down version of the stream board here on YouTube. Have fun! But yeah, we got 126 responses, so quite a lot actually, from like a bunch of skill levels here, as you can see. The biggest group was 28 to 30, which makes sense, honestly. That's mostly the most active group. And by the way, as you can see, the main input method people used is slightly keyboard advantaged here, with pretty even analog D-pad distribution and one person who is a hybrid player. And we will first, before showing the actual main result, I will go here and show the controller usage stats per time, because that is where because we don't want to spoil immediately the results. Which is also very interesting that at the sub 28 range, the keyboard is like way bigger, like 64%, and analog like barely any analog players on the controller side. And if you go further, like 28 to 30, you have the bigger analog players in my form than D-pad players. Holy shit! Also, the shoutouts to the one hybrid player. Here it is to just sub 31, by the way. Yeah, still slightly. Wait, something is wrong here. What did I do wrong here? Something is wrong on this form. I probably made an oopsie. I should fix this. I will fix this soon. Okay, but yeah, here you have the 31 to 34 players, where you also have more analog players than D-pad players, and still slightly more keyboard. 34 to 39 also slightly more keyboard and more analog players than D-pad players. And 30 and above is also slightly more keyboard players. And D-pad and analog here is roughly even. How much of the top 20 80% did you get responses from? That is a good question. I put everybody, like I can say that where is this? That the 25 to 27 range was 25 responses. That is what, the top 50 at least? What is sub 28 now? But yeah, the main thing. Do you think keyboard or controller has an advantage over the other, even if that advantage is minimal? 64% say a keyboard, yes, keyboard has an advantage. 31% say no, they're even, or it's preference. And 4.8% say controller has an advantage, which are 6 people. So yeah, a lot of people say keyboard has an advantage. Now also the 6 people that said there's controller advantage, I did not list them up per like time, because there were relatively, I think there was like 1 person in each like group, and then 2 in one of them. So it wouldn't have made sense to list them up separately, but for the others I did. But yeah, do you think the advantage is significant? No, only for top level, for like half of them. 3 only for top level play, say 2, and 1 said no, not yet, but for a hypothetical top level play in the future. Now for keyboard, this is like in general for keyboard. Do you think the advantage is significant? 54% say for top level play it is, so a bit over half. Then nearly 20% say it's not yet, but in the future for top level play. The 16% say yes, and like in general yes, like not even only for top level play, but in general. And then nearly 10% say no, the advantage is not significant at all. We can check keyboard users, because they were the majority. So I have them listed up all separately. Yeah. Keyboard users say 70% of all keyboard users, if you compare this against in general, that is slightly more here than the general people that answered. But yeah, 70% of keyboard users say that yes, keyboard has an advantage. 4% of the keyboard users say controller has an advantage, and 25% say not advantage. And here's also the significance listed as well. Don't have to go over all of that. What I find interesting, I've also filtered out the people that have actually tried controller or something before. The keyboard advantage comes from having... Okay, so explaining where the keyboard advantage comes from. It's... You have more buttons. You have different... You have, like, more fingers for movement and can switch directions easier, or can press left and right at the same time. You have more fingers available, of course. So it might be more comfortable to press different buttons as well. Also, personally, I think feather movement is honestly easier on keyboard, because you have first 3 feather boosts without needing to bite an extra button, or using D-pad and then using your right stick for feather movement. And you can have clearer cues because your feather movement angles are more limited. So you can have clearer cues for feather movement. So yeah, if you filter this by people who have used another input method, it is basically the same, but the controller advantage slice of the pie is slightly bigger, but that is not significant. Now, the controller users. Slightly less, as I said. 60% say keyboard has an advantage. But from those 60%, it is a bigger slice that says it's only for top-level play, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, because here it's more like 50% or a bit less. Okay, but also 50%. Also, what's interesting, 50% of all controller players have used or have not used another input method from this poll, which is significantly less than, or more, depending on what result you're looking at, than for keyboard users, which is mostly just probably because keyboard users have switched from, like, originally played on, like, some keyboard users have originally played on controller, right? Because it is often common to start on controller and then switch, right? So that makes a lot of sense. So also for those that have, for the controller players who have tried keyboard and have sticked, right? They have tried keyboard and sticked on controller. The advantage here is not that difference. The advantage pie on the top here, but the significance only for top level play pie, like that slice just increased to 80% here for some reason. and nobody of the people who tried keyboard thinks and said that keyboard has an advantage thinks that the keyboard advantage is not significant. Show individual responses. I can also do that soon. I will do that soon, because one thing. Okay, you know what? I will show it for the hybrid player here. The one hybrid player said controller has an advantage, and that the advantage is not significant. There you have there are people who were curious about the hybrid player. That is what the hybrid player said. That is what they said. Now, sorted by any percentile. This is the more interesting, I think. This is a bit more interesting. But this is very interesting. So the sub 28 players say, like, 84% say yes, keyboard has an advantage. 84%, like, so much more than the general public. Yeah, 4% said controller has an advantage, so that is, I think, one person. Yes, one person, and 3 said no advantage. Who could have guessed that? Yes. Yeah, so 21 of the top players said yes, keyboard has an advantage, and most of them still say only for top level play, or some of them said in the future 90%, right? You see it shrinks quite a bit for the 28 to 30 range, where keyboard only has 70% and no advantage has 26. The significance pie chart is relatively similar, except that the no votes were a bit more. But the top level and then the future votes were pretty similar. 31 to 34, it gets it gets relatively even here actually. With yes, keyboard has an advantage and to no advantage at all, or controller has an advantage. 34 to 39, for some reason, they think again keyboard has a bigger advantage. And the only for top level play is also slice is also bigger. Over 40 on the over 40 people, the only time range where the majority said that there is no advantage and it's preference. Yes, I also have it here listed up for sub 31 and over 31, so the numbers are a bit more even. For the high level players, like 3/4 say yes, keyboard has an advantage. For slightly less higher level players and everything above that, it is a bit more even with yes, keyboard has an advantage and no advantage at all. So it is very likely that high level players think more that keyboard has an advantage than lower level players. It is very likely that that is the case, as like mostly the majority agrees that at top level players it definitely matters a bit more. Like I wish like the thing is, I'm running out on space on my controller to put like buttons on that I can comfortably press while playing, right? Because the thing is, you also have to be able to comfortably press buttons, or in keyboard's case, keys. And I like I can rebind sometimes for some ILs, but for other ILs I cannot. I do not have the space to rebind for some ILs. Like I wish I had a right climb jump bind. I wish I had a dash jump bind. And then you can also have some niche binds that are very nice. Like I have left climb jump bind. Also, you can also have the pause jump bind, for example. It is also nice. I do not have a pause jump bind, for example. Oh, also there's a climb jump bind. Yeah, climb jump bind is not that important. Some people use a climb jump bind. That's true. It's not that bad. Like dash jump is not that important. I think the advantage is a bit overblown. I only really have one strat where I felt actually disadvantage of not having a dash jump bind. Like, it is definitely simplifying inputs. Like, climb jump bind is not that useful, but left climb jump bind and right climb jump bind, those are actually useful. Yeah, it's not like a dash jump bind can be very useful, but it's not that important. Was there anything else here in this form? No, right? Dash jump bind is useful, but it's not necessary, I think. And pause jump, I'm definitely slower at pausing because of not having a pause jump button. Having to repress pause and jump. Could also be a case of if you're used to dash jump bind for counter ultra, you're better at them. I don't know. I personally don't have an opinion about dash jump bind for counter ultras because, like I said, I don't have one. It makes sense because, okay, so controller has one single advantage, which is or two actual advantages. I can think of two, I'm sorry. And they both involve feathers. The one is that feather angles, you can have more precise feather angles, which mostly do not matter, which is why nobody really thinks they're an actual advantage, because they mostly save like 1 or 2 frames. They definitely matter if you're a room grinder though, and it's like really hard to get actually the right angle to save that time. The other advantage is the funny 70% up thing, where if you hold for less than 70% on your analog stick, the game doesn't register it properly as an up press, and if you don't hold up at the end of a feather, you get a boost. You get a boost out of a feather. And for keyboard, you would have to release up in the last 2 frames of the feather time, right? So those are the two real advantages, and they're very niche. The other the keyboard advantages are bigger than the controller advantages. Now that we are at the end of this video, I've published the sheet with the data for anyone to look at. Link is down in the description. I also have to add here, as a general disclaimer for the data on this sheet, people express their opinions. That doesn't mean their opinion is a fact. Also, with some demographics, the answer total was so little that it isn't close to being representative. Please keep that in mind when looking at the data. Also, significance can mean different things for different people. For some top runners, a strat that might save only a second, but is easier on one control scheme, might seem very significant, while it isn't for others. Also, it might mean that something is just a bit easier for one type of input method than for the other. Not that it's impossible, as you can see from all the different top runners on either controller or keyboard. Also, this didn't factor in stuff like hand issues that could arise for people from playing either one, which is way more important than what some runners just think is more optimal to speedrun Celeste with. Also, stuff like bad hardware or availability of certain hardware also plays a role in what you should play with. I hope this data was interesting to you, and this was a really fun survey to do, and seeing what different people think is more optimal to play, or what even the advantages are, because I didn't ask exactly what the advantages are, but I mentioned them in the video because those are the main advantages, what I talked about back in this video. So yeah, thank you everyone, and see ya!